Hey, what's up guys, my name is Abdul Nafe, and in this course we're going to be learning how to make hyper-realistic car animations inside of Unreal Engine 5. Now in this course we're going to be making two very realistic car animations. One of them is going to be inside a studio, in which we're going to be creating like a whole garage or studio, and we're going to be doing camera animations, and we're going to be cinematically revealing the car. And after that we're going to be making a scene on the highway in which the car is going to be moving, and we're going to take different shots of the car. So there's a lot to learn in this course. We're going to be covering how to import models in Unreal Engine 5. We're going to be learning how to texture cars. We're going to be learning how to create realistic environments, do realistic lighting using HDRIs or maybe the default lighting setup in Unreal Engine. And yeah, so there's really a lot to cover. Even if you are a beginner or an experienced Unreal Engine artist, I would definitely recommend you to take this course. Now, the good thing about this course is that this course is going to be, it's going to show you the raw process of me as an artist when I'm like creating art. So we're going to be making all the creative decisions. We're going to be solving all the problems together. And yeah, just generally, it's going to be a good experience for you to like learn an actual workflow for real 3D artists, right? So I would really recommend you to take this course if you want to take your Unreal Engine skills to the next level. One thing which I am going to mention is that you do need to have like very basic experience with Unreal Engine 5, and some experience with Blender 3D and Premiere Pro is going to be useful because we are going to use the basics of those softwares as well. But yeah, apart from that, that's pretty much it. I'm really excited for this course, and I hope you are too. And yeah, I'll see you in the course. Alright guys, welcome to the course. Now in this course, we're going to be basically creating two scenes. The first scene is going to be the studio scene, in which we're going to have shots of the car in the studio. And the second scene is going to be basically the car on the highway, right? So let's begin with the studio scene. So for that, firstly, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be going to games, and we're just going to be creating a blank project. Now you can turn on ray tracing if you can. If you do have an RTX graphic card and you can bear the performance cost, then you can turn that on. And it's going to give you slightly better results. However, it is definitely not necessary. You can name the project whatever you want, and then you can just go ahead and create the project. However, I'm not going to do that. I already do have a project with basically all the textures and everything, all the assets imported. So I'm just going to be using that, but you can obviously go ahead and create a brand new project. So I'm just going to go to recent projects, and I'm going to open this project right here. And so I'm just going to open it. Although everything is going to be the same if you create a new project, you could just follow along with everything just fine. So once once Unreal Engine is basically opened, you're just going to go up to file in the top left corner, and then you can just click new level, and then you can just click empty level right here, and then you can create a new level. So what this does is that we're basically starting from a clean slate. We have a new level which we can just in which we can add stuff. Before anything, I'm just going to press Control S so that we can save the level. And so this level, I'm going to call it McLaren underscore course underscore level. Or actually McLaren underscore studio underscore course, because there's going to be one level for the studio and one level for the highway. So I'm just going to do that. Now the level is saved. So now what we can do is we can just go ahead and create a basic lighting setup. For that, I'm going to go up to a window, and we can just go to the environment light mixer and just create a skylight, atmospheric light, sky atmosphere, volumetric clouds, and height fog. So this is just going to give us a basic outdoor lighting setup, which we can which is important so that we can at least see how the car looks before creating the whole studio. So now we can just go ahead and look for a car on the internet, and we can just import the car in Unreal Engine. So for that, I'm going to go to the internet. I'm going to go to Google Chrome, and I'm just going to be searching for McLaren 3D model. And so I like Sketchfab, but although you can use any of these other websites as well, but I'm just going to go to Sketchfab, and so you can just choose any of these models. Make sure that it has either this downloadable sign, this download sign, that means it's free to download, or it has this dollar sign, which means that you can purchase the model. So I'm going to go for a free model, but actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to search McLaren here, because I think I remember some cars that I saw in here, which I couldn't see back there. So I think I'm going to go with this one, McLaren Spider. I think this looks really good. And so it is open from the top, which means we can also show the interior and make sure that the interior looks good. Yep, I think it looks pretty realistic. So we are also going to show the interior. That's perfect. So I think this model should be pretty good for us. Now we can just go ahead and download this real quick. But again, you can also just download any car, and the process is basically going to be the same. We also have this option, McLaren 720S Spider. Let's see which one's better. Okay, so this okay, so one problem with this model is that it has 1.7 million triangles, which means that it is very high quality, but that also means that it is very, what do you call it? It's going to be pretty heavy on your computer as well. But I think this model looks pretty damn good. compared to this one, but I feel like I'm gonna go with this one just because it's more efficient and just because rendering this is gonna be pretty hard. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with this model then. Okay, just click download 3D model and you have a few of these options. What I like is I usually go with .obj or .gitf because we're gonna be first opening this in Blender. And by the way, guys, I am assuming that you know the very basics of Blender 3D or any other 3D software, because usually when we're importing models, I like to use Blender 3D to import them first and make sure that the normals and everything are fine. Then we can just export it out to Unreal Engine. But what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just download the obj file, .obj, and just wait for it to complete downloading. We can just open the zip file and source, and there's another zip file in there. And so basically I'm going to select both of these files and I'm going to drag them out into the McLaren 720 folder. Now what we can do is we can just simply go ahead and open Blender. And so in Blender, I'm just going to create a new file, delete everything, and then we can go to File, Import, and then OBJ. Now OBJ is a wavefront, so just select wavefront and go to Desktop, McLaren 720, and just select the .obj file and import wavefront object. Perfect. So the car is inside our scene, and you can see that all the objects are properly separated, which is pretty good. So now what we can do is we can make sure that the normals are fine. So for that, I'm going to click this arrow right here and click face orientation, and all the normals seem to be perfect. Okay, so this is a pretty decent model, and because usually sometimes you are going to face some problems with the normals. Some parts are going to be red. Actually, let me give you an example of how to fix that if it is in your case. So just ignore what I'm doing right now because I'm basically messing this up, and then I'll show you. So sometimes when you import a model, some parts are going to be red like this. So the way you fix this is by selecting the object first, clicking tab to go into edit mode, pressing A to select everything, and then you can just go to mesh, normals, and either flip or recalculate outside. How do you know which one to use? So if basically the whole object that you're selecting is red, then you can just do flip. Otherwise, you can just do recalculate outside. So right in my case, I'm just going to do flip. And so that's perfect. Okay, that inner part might be a problem. Let me make sure. Actually, I don't think it's going to be a problem because it's inside there, and I think it's fine. Okay, perfect. So now we are good to go with this model and we're ready to import it. So what we can do is that we can just go to File, Export, and then just click FBX. So we're just going to export an FBX file of this, and I'm just going to go to Desktop and McLaren 720, and I'm just going to call this McLaren.fbx. Perfect. Export FBX, and now we can go ahead and open Unreal Engine 5. So inside Unreal Engine, I'm going to right click the content folder and we can just create a new folder. I'm going to call this McLaren 720. Okay. And so inside this folder, we can just import the FBX file. So I'm just going to go back to desktop and move this aside and just drag the FBX file inside of Unreal Engine. Now in this case, we could technically just import the .obj file directly, but it's always good to check your models, check the normals of your models and just run it through Blender, because it just, I personally prefer that. That's my workflow. You can obviously use a different workflow if you want. But yeah, it just gives us some messages. We can just go ahead and cross this out. We don't really need to worry about them. And now you're going to see that we have all the separate parts of our car in our scene, which is perfect. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to go ahead and go to landscape mode first. Now let's just create a basic landscape, right? So we just need a floor to put the car on. And so now we can just select the first static mesh, and then we can shift select the last static mesh like this, and we can just drag this in our scene. Perfect. I think the car looks pretty good, pretty realistic, and we should be good to go. All right, so now the car is perfectly imported. Now what we can do is we can go ahead and start with my favorite process, and that is texturing. So for the textures, what I'm going to do is that, also let me check the interior if everything in the interior is fine. Yep, it looks pretty realistic, and we're going to be texturing the interior too, by the way. Okay, so for the texturing, we're going to be using a texture pack, which is created by Epic Games themselves. So you can just go to the Epic Games Store, Epic Games Launcher, and the texture pack, by the way, is called Automotive Materials. So just go to Unreal Engine, Marketplace, and we can just go ahead and search for Automotive, and it should just come up, Automotive Materials. Perfect. Now we can just go ahead and download this texture pack. So let me see how big the texture pack is. So it's around 2.9 gigabytes. So make sure that you have 2.9 gigabytes of storage in your computer. And it might take some time for you to download depending on your internet connection. Anyway, so once you've downloaded it, you can just go to click add project. And if it doesn't show your project, just click show all projects and then just select your project and select a version. Basically select the latest version which is compatible with it and just click add to project. I'm not going to do that because I already do have it imported in my scene. But once you do, you're going to see this folder right here, which says automotive materials. So we can just begin texturing the car. All right, perfect. So now what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be starting with the exterior. So if I just open this materials folder, you're going to see exterior and also interior. Let's first do the exterior, then we can move on to the interior. So for that, let's begin with the car paint itself. And so for the car paint, I'm just going to go to the car paint folder. And applying materials is as simple as just dragging them onto the object. That's Unreal Engine. It's basically very simple. And so let me just try this dark blue car paint. I think I like that. Or maybe this light blue. Actually, I think oops, my bad. So for now, I'm just gonna do the dark blue. I might change it later, but yeah, for now, I think I'm gonna go with that. So yeah. Okay. I think it looks pretty decent. Also, one thing which I want to mention is that if your reflections are not good, actually, let me apply the glass materials first, then I can show you the difference between the setting which I'm going to ask you to turn on. So let's go to glass and windshield, just apply that. All right, so for the glass, if you can't see like good reflections or if you don't like how your glass looks, what you can do is basically have two options, right? The first option is go up to settings, and in the engine scalability settings, it's by default, I think it's on epic. If you set that to cinematic, you're going to see a lot more detail in your what do you call it, in your windscreen. However, if you want even better results at a higher performance cost, what you can do is you can just go to add visual effects and post-process volume, just add that in your scene. What you can do is you can just search for infinite extent first to make sure that it affects the whole scene. And then what you can do is you can go down to translucency. So this option right here, translucency, and turn on type. Instead of raster, I'm going to do ray tracing. Now you're going to see that this is going to give you like much better results because it's going to give you ray traced reflections on your glass. Now this is going to come with a performance cost, but I think it looks pretty decent. It looks pretty good. So I think it's going to make some difference to this as well. Let me see if it does. Okay, so right now the difference is not that visible, but for glass especially, it just makes glass look a lot better, a lot more realistic. Right, so this is before and this is after. You can see it looks a lot better. Okay, so, and again, the difference it makes is going to be dependent on many things, on basically your whole lighting, what do you call it, the lighting of the scene. Sometimes it's going to make more difference, sometimes it's going to make very little difference. You can also apply a tinted material to this, by the way, if you want. But I'm just going to go with a clear one for now. We can obviously make changes later on. Anyway, so let's move on with the texturing. So let me go back to this, what do you call it? This object view right here, so that I can have a better idea of how the car looks and what colors should go where. So we want sort of like a black material. Oops, my bad. We want sort of like a black material right here with this in this part. So I'm going to go down to metal, and maybe you can try anodized metal. No, that's way too dark. Or is it? I think it looks good, but I mean, we could probably go with this metal bump. This looks pretty decent too. What about this metal frosted? I think I like that. You can also go with plastic clean, plastic rough. So yeah, you have a lot of flexibility with this. Actually, I don't like that. So let me go back to metal and just choose one of these. I think I'm probably going to go with this metal bump. However, I'm going to make it a little darker. So the way we do that is, wait one sec, let me make sure that it's correct. Okay, so the way we make changes to any of these materials is by simply double clicking it, and you can see that it's going to open this material editor. So we can just go to this tint and just select a new color. You can make it brighter, or in our case, you can make it darker. Let me try again. Cancel, and this V value, I'm going to decrease it something like that. I think that should be good. Perfect. So I think it looks pretty decent. Now we can move on to the rest of the car. So I'm going to do the rims now. So you can probably apply a chrome material to this, or maybe like a, let's try a metal bump on this as well. I think that looks pretty decent. Metal frosted. No, I'm not a huge fan of that. Or maybe anodized metal. I think that looks pretty decent. Maybe I'll just do metal bump. No, I want like a matte finish on the rims. Let me do metal anodized, but then I can just make it lighter. Something like that. But again, you have full creative control over your car. So if you don't like what I'm doing, then you can feel free to. In fact, I would actually recommend you to come up with ideas on your own and apply different materials than what I'm applying. Also, be sure to save all by clicking this button right here, and also press Ctrl S so that you save everything. And so the metal bump I'm going to apply to this, oops, my bad, this part as well. And I think we are going pretty good. This part right here, let me see if, okay, that's black as well. So metal bump to this. Let's see where else we're supposed to apply the metal bump to this as well. The inside part as well. Let me make sure. Yep. Like that. Perfect. So our car is coming along pretty well. Let's go to the back side, and we are going to make a number plate as well, so don't worry about that just yet. And let's see, what are we supposed to do from the back? So from the back, this is mainly just glass, and there's lights as well. You can also pull up actual pictures of McLaren, like actual picture of whatever car you're trying to make, just so you can get a better idea of how it actually looks. I still think McLaren is one of the best looking cars ever. I just personally love. Actually, I'm going to use this picture a lot for the interior because I think this interior looks pretty realistic, and so I'm going to copy it. What else? I want a picture from the back side. Okay, so all right. So this part is supposed to be the grill, and okay, so oops, my bad. Let me open Unreal Engine. So this is opened. However, you can also close it if you want, I think. Okay, but it's you're gonna have to position it properly, and I'm not gonna do that. It's fine. So I think this is supposed to be a grill. Let me see what this is. So let's try to apply metal material to this. That is not looking good. What we can do is we can maybe apply a grill material to this, like that. Actually, that's gonna look good. But I want to make sure that it actually is a grill before applying a material to it. Okay, yeah, so this is a grill right below the light. So I'm going to apply that material, but on top of that, I think I'm going to do a glass as well, because I think there's a glass over this grill. Or at least that's what I think. But I do this, and then inside it, I apply a grill material. Oops, my bad. That was the wrong material. Actually, I think I'm just going to do this glass because I think it looks pretty good. And also this thing right here should have the metal anodized material. And so the lights, the back lights are supposed to have a glass material, of course. So for that, I'm going to go to the lights folder, and we can just give it a transparent cover like that. Or you can just go to the glass folder as well. That's going to be the same thing. And so for these lights, you can basically either have them on or off. That's just up to you. Me personally, I'm going to have them on. If you want to have them off, you can apply this red tinted material right here. So that's going to give them the off look. However, you can also apply the lamp red to give them the on material. I think that looks pretty decent. Okay, perfect. This car is coming along pretty well. Now let's apply the materials to the tires. So for the tires, I'm going to go to rubber. Let's do sidewall rough. Let's see how this looks. And so the texture alignment is not correct, so we can work on that. You can also apply the tread material, but that is going to look pretty bad. Honestly, if you want to just do like a quick apply the texture quickly, I would just recommend you to apply this one, rubber rough or rubber shiny. But if you want to actually have the sidewall, then you can apply this, and but then you're gonna have to match the UVs as well. All right, so I think our tires look pretty decent. We can move on to this brake disc. I think that's what it's called. And I'm gonna apply a brush metal material to this, and or maybe I think there's a radial material too. I think I'm gonna go with the brush metal. Yeah, I think it's fine for now. We might make it darker later on, but I think for now it's perfectly fine. And for this side as well. Oops, my bad. And I'm not sure what this is supposed to be, so I'm gonna go back to the Sketchfab website, and we can take a look and see what it is, because it's just a white I don't know exactly what this is supposed to be, but I'm just gonna apply like a brush metal texture to it, or maybe not. So yeah, actually that's what I'm gonna do. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna be making the calipers the same color as the body paint. And I'm gonna be applying the same exact material to it. It's car paint. This material right here, and I'm just gonna apply the same one to that as well, so it can just hide. And with this as well. Pretty cool. And finally this one too. And yep, we are good to go. Now this back part, I'm not exactly sure what this back part is supposed to be. Let's go back and let's see. Okay, so this is just supposed to be, okay, so this is supposed to be a glass, and this part is supposed to be, what do you call it? Just metal, I think. Let me go and apply some anodized metal texture to this. I think that should be fine. And this part is supposed to be glass, so glass, and then let me do tinted glass, or maybe not. Let's try clear glass. I think that's better. Or actually, I think I'm just gonna go with tinted. It's almost the same thing though. And similarly, anodized material to this as well. And this part was glass too, I remember that. And so we can just apply glass clear, or glass tinted actually. Perfect. So I think our car is looking pretty good. And so for these front lights, I'm just gonna go to the lights folder, cover transparent, and so the inside part of this, we're gonna apply lights to this, but I just want to make sure which parts have lights. So this part and this line right here. So I'm gonna apply a texture to them. Let's zoom in so that we can like go inside the glass. And so lamp white, and go down, and this is, oh, I think it's already applied. Yep, lamp white and lamp white. That's pretty good. And similarly with this as well. Oh, it's already applied. Perfect. So I think our car looks pretty good. And yeah, I think it looks very realistic. But we're actually going to be, when we do the lighting, it's going to become a lot better. All right, so there's this white spot head. So I'm just going to apply like a metal material to this. So I'm just going to go to automotive materials and exterior, and let's just open the metal folder, and maybe this black anodized metal. I think that should be fine. And so now we can just make sure that all the textures are applied, and if anything in the exterior doesn't have a texture, we can just apply a texture to that. Metal. Actually, let me just apply the same material. Which material does this have? It has the metal bump material. So I'm just going to apply the same one so that it just camouflages. And I think everything else does have a material. And I think the car is coming along pretty well. I don't know if that's a light or what. I think that is a light. Or is it? Yeah, no, I don't think that was light. It was just some bloom. Because why would there be a light here? Or maybe it was. I mean, I don't know anything about cars, honestly. My knowledge is pretty limited when it comes to cars. Okay, so let me apply a shiny material to this as well. Or actually a matte material. So in Unreal Engine, what I do is I usually try to avoid using a lot of glossy materials, because it's a little harder to render. There's a lot of artifacts when you try to render it. So it's generally, I mean, I don't want to say like you should never limit your creative, uh, basically your creative potential just because of software, but I think it's generally better to use less shiny materials. Um, I'm just gonna go to metal, and down in metal you're gonna see this mirror material. So I just apply this mirror material here, and it looks pretty good. So, and to this as well, and we're gonna move on to the interior in just a bit. But let me first, I'm thinking if we should work on, what do you call it, the number plate first, or we should do the interior first. Let me actually do the interior first, because the number plate is gonna involve us to actually create a number plate, which is gonna be a little complex. We're gonna have to leave Unreal Engine for that, but this is pretty straightforward. So for this, I want like a leather cloth interior. So for that, I'm just gonna go down to interior, leather, and we can just use any of these. So what I want is this suede. I don't know what this is called. I think it's suede. This sort of leather. So you can see it looks pretty realistic, doesn't it? And you can also like use this color if you want. Actually, like this color more. Or okay, so it's either this or this. I'm actually gonna go with this because I think this looks more realistic. Okay, and this blue part right here, I think that is a light. I'm not sure, but what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna search for McLaren. Interior. Okay. By the way, this car has such a great interior, honestly. Okay, so I can't really see that. Yeah, I don't see any lights in the middle. It's just okay. So it's just another type of cloth. So I'm gonna, oops, my bad. I'm probably gonna do like something like this. Oops, no, perforated doesn't look good. Just normal leather. That should be fine. How about I do orange? I think that looks better, doesn't it? Yeah, I think that looks better. And so let me apply this to this as well. Let's move on to the steering wheel. So the steering wheel is, okay, so in this it's cloth. Like it's basically the same material as the other one, but in this it's basically sort of like a plastic or maybe carbon fiber. Actually, I have an idea. So this part is going to be carbon fiber and this part is going to be leather. So let's do that. So I'm going to apply the gray leather to this part. We're going to have to tweak the material because it's pretty light. I don't want it to be this light. And then we can go to carbon fiber and we can apply carbon fiber to this. Okay, I think that looks pretty damn good. So you can either make it glossy. Actually, I kind of like glossy. Let's actually do glossy, but then make it less glossy by opening it. I think it's way too glossy. So the roughness minimum, I'm going to increase it to something like 0.5. That didn't really do much. So maybe 0.8. And I think there's one more setting which we can do, and that is going to be the clear coat. So just make this 0.6. And also I'm looking for, what do you call it? Okay, so this doesn't have a specular setting, but some materials have a specular slider as well, so you can control that. But okay, I think this looks pretty good. So this steering wheel though, the leather part is not looking good. Maybe you can do like a black leather. Is this black? It doesn't look black at all. Okay, so I'm just gonna make the tint darker by reducing the V value. I think that looks pretty good. Something like that's gonna be even better. And I think it looks pretty bright because of the lighting. When we actually work on the lighting and when we make a studio out of this, it's gonna look much better. And so there should be, I think, a McLaren logo. Yeah, a McLaren logo. So I think the car did come with the McLaren logo texture. Let's see. So okay, I don't think it came with that. So we can just go ahead and download a McLaren logo. So just go to the internet. And actually, I want to have this open as well. I'm just going to search for McLaren logo. This right here. Save image, because it's basically this texture. And then we're just going to drag this into the McLaren 720 folder. And now what we can do is we can just drag this on to make sure that the UVs are correct. They are not. So I'm going to undo that. And what we're going to be doing is that we're actually going to be using basically a Megascans preset material to create a material out of this texture, and then we can apply that. The reason why we do that is so that we can get all the controls that we get with the Megascans material without having to do any, like without having to deal with any nodes or anything like that. Okay, if that didn't make any sense, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to explain to you in just a bit. So firstly, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to go down to this folder right here, MS presets, right? If you don't have this folder, you can just go ahead and add Quixel content and just import anything from this Megascans thing. Just import anything, right? If you import anything, it's just going to create the MS presets folder automatically. So once you have this folder, you can go down to another folder inside this, which is called m_ms_ surface _ material. So this is the material that we're looking for. Just right click this and create material instance. Just call this logo. And if I open this, you're going to see that we get all the material controls that we get with a material, with the Megascans material, right? So that's exactly what we want. Right now, the problem is that the albedo channel, basically the actual texture itself is wrong. So we're going to have to basically turn this on, right? This albedo channel, and just drag in our logo inside here. Albedo is basically the color channel, right? So the color, obviously we want it to be the McLaren logo itself. So before that, I'm just going to close this, and let me actually move this material, this thing right here, into the McLaren 720 folder. Move here. And so now what we can do is we can just go ahead and open the material, and we can drag the McLaren logo inside the albedo channel right here, save it, and then we can go ahead and find the material. Where to go? I lost it. I think it was this one. Yeah, and we can just apply this. So right now we don't really see anything. That's because the tiling and the UV is not, the tiling and offset is not correct. So we can just try to move it until it appears, and there it does. It does appear like that. And so I'm just going to set this to 2 by 2. So the higher this value is, the smaller your logo is going to be, or the smaller your texture is going to be. So, okay, so it's, so I'm just trying to align the logo, but we can't seem to do that for some reason. How about we make it 3 by 3? How about we make it 5 by 5? And then we can rotate it a little bit, just a tad bit. I think that should be fine. And okay, so this seems to be fine, but there's other textures around it. So I think the UVs of this material, this thing right here, this mesh, are not correct. So what we can try to do is we can try to add basically, what do you call it? Sort of like a cylinder. I think a cylinder should do the job, and we can just place it right here, rotate it, and scale it down. And now what we can do is we can just turn all this off and try to apply the material to this to make sure that it applies correctly. Yeah, it does. And now what we can do is we can essentially just replace that thing right there, that logo thing, with this. I'm going to turn off the snapping. And so sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to replace meshes, because when you import stuff from basically outside Unreal Engine, Sometimes it doesn't like behave exactly the way you want it to, and it's just a drawback of, importing stuff from outside Unreal Engine. You can't really do much with that. I mean, you could technically just make sure that the UVs and everything are correct inside Blender, but for that we're gonna have to like, go back to Blender, and it's gonna be a hassle for no reason. Where we can just do this directly inside of Unreal Engine. Just like that. And yeah, that looks pretty good. I might have to rotate it a little more. That should be fine. And we can also click this button right here to move it in the object axis, so we can like precisely move this basically. Like that. Perfect. So right now you're going to see that the material looks pretty bad because it's just the logo. And let me make sure it's oriented the correct way. It is not. So it's supposed to be on the top right side. So just orient it like that. I hope that's correct. Let me make sure. Yep, it seems to be correct. Perfect. So I think it looks pretty bad right now because it's basically not realistic at all. So to make it look better, what we can do is we can just open this material. And this is exactly why we used the Megascan material, because now we have all the customizations that we can do. We can basically do whatever we want. So firstly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the normal channel, this normal tab right here. And so right now it doesn't have a normal map. So what we can do is we can just search for plastic. And usually Unreal Engine does have like quite a lot of normal maps, quite a lot of texture maps. So you don't really need to, maybe this rock. Okay, that should be good, but the scale is pretty off. So actually, let me look for something else. Let me look for metal or just normal. Let's see. Okay, default. I think something like that should be good. So we just want there to be like a little bit of like some bumps, and I don't want it to be like perfectly flat. So I think that should be decent for now. We can reduce the normal strength to 0.5 because I don't want it to be like too much. And then what we can also do is we can change the albedo tint, bring it a little down to make it darker. So let me reduce the normal strength to 0.1. And I think that should be fine for now. We can make changes later on if you want, but I think for now that should be good. One thing which I would probably do is I would actually basically invert this material, and I would have basically the background be black and the actual logo be white. But I think since we've already imported it now, I think it's fine. But that's just something which you might want to do. All right, moving on to okay, so there's just minor details now. So let's actually go back to our automotive materials folder, interior, and here we can just go to plastic and plastic smooth. Just apply stuff. Actually, that's way too glossy. I think that should be fine. And so for this, we can just apply this material to this, because obviously we're not going for like a super detailed interior. We just want to have some materials. So you also have this textile folder, which you can basically get out of which you can get cloths and stuff. But let me try this. I think that looks pretty decent. Nope. I think that's fine. For the seatbelt, I'm also gonna do blue, because why not? What's this? Okay, so moving on to this this part right here. So this part is gonna be a little tricky because it is like a little hard to get to look realistic. Let's go to plastic and let's see if we can. Oops, that's holes. We don't want holes. Plastic leather. Nope. Nope. I think something like that might look good. I kind of like that. Okay, so and for this screen, what we're going to be doing is that we're just going to go back to middle, and we can just apply. We can right click this mirror, and we can create a material instance. So I'm just going to call this screen and apply this. And so what we can do is we can just go to use tint and just set the tint to black. or like a gray, not completely black. Something like that might be good. Yep. Yeah, I think the screen looks pretty realistic now. Okay, just do okay and save it. And I think we're looking pretty good. We just have some buttons left. And so I think I'm going to use plastic for the buttons as well. Nope, that looks pretty bad. Nope. So I think we're basically done. I don't think we need to do much with these buttons because I mean, there's not much we can do. I mean, we can import textures for all of them, but that's going to be way too much work and it's not going to be that noticeable either, but you can do that if you want. So let me go back to car paint and let's just get a red and apply the red material to this. Cool. So I think the interior is looking pretty good too. The mirror doesn't have a material. So let me go to metal. Oops, actually no. Metal in the exterior folder. Mirror like that. And this part right here, this part should be anodized metal or a bump panel. I think that's fine. So again, this part should also have the leather material. And so this part right here, I want it to be leather as well. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe we can just use the same exact leather which we used there. Or we can maybe do the black one. Nope, that looks pretty out of place. Or does it? Nah, I think it looks out of place. I think I'm just gonna do that. And then maybe we can do the black leather on these parts to add some contrast. And the same with the other side as well. First, make these orange, and then this part black leather, and the rest should be that part should be black leather too. Oh, actually no, that part should not be black leather because then the side mirror is also going to become leather, which is obviously not something you want. Okay, so I think the interior is looking pretty good for now. We can I think it should be fine for now. If we find something that we want to make changes to, we can do that later on. Let me apply not red. Yeah, so I think for now we should be good. We can apply changes to it later on. But yeah, for now I think it looks pretty decent. Alright, so let's go ahead and oops, this should not be leather, bro. This should probably be black. Yep. No, actually. Let me do a metal, interior metal, anodized. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better. Okay, so we are essentially just done with all the texturing and everything. And I think the car turned out to be pretty well. I'm just making sure that there's nothing left. Because oftentimes you're going to miss a few textures, which you should. So you should like go back and just look at all the textures once again. Now let's move on to the last part of the texturing. Okay, what's up with this? So let me actually go to the internet and see how it actually looks. Clear and back. So okay, so I think this should probably be a metal. It shouldn't have this glass texture. Maybe the anodized one. I honestly like how this looks, so I'm just gonna leave it there. But you can obviously change the texture if you want. All right, moving on to the last step in the texturing, then the license plate. So for the license plate, what I usually do is I just go to the internet and I search for license plate. You can either do license plate generator or you can just do license plate font, and then you can create basically a license plate yourself. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do license plate generator because that gives you a more realistic looking license plate. Just go to any website. I think I'm just gonna use this one. Region, let me do New York because I like how the New York license plate looks. I'm just gonna do Nafe 3D and alignment. Let's do center. Let's see how it looks. Okay, that looks pretty good. Actually, let me not do New York this time because last time I did New York too. Let me actually do something else. How about we do... I don't know. I actually don't know how the California plate looks. Oh, that's interesting. No, I don't really like that. Alaska, nope. Hawaii. How does the Texas one look? I actually like the Texas one. I'm just gonna do Texas then. Okay, let's do Texas and Nafe 3. Okay, that does not look good. How about Delaware? I heard the Delaware. Yeah, I love the Delaware one. Actually, I'm just gonna go with this. Let me do this one, this orange and black one. Nafe 3D, and yeah, I think that turned out pretty well. Okay, perfect. So we can just open this tab and open this in a new tab. And it is pretty low res, but since it's going to be pretty small, we're not going to notice it, okay? Because it's going to be basically very small. Right click, save image as, save it, and then we can make sure that we are inside the McLaren S720 folder before dragging it in. But you can just go ahead and drag it in now. So now we can just go ahead and do the same exact thing which we did previously. So I'm just going to go to the... So we're basically using the Megascans material. So I'm just going to go to the logo material and we can right click this and just create material instance. And this I'm just going to call the license plate underscore plate. Oops. Let's play 1. And let's apply this material to this. And so then we can just open the material. And instead of the albedo map being this, we can just apply the number plate to it. And I think it looks pretty good already. The only thing we need to do is just rotate it correctly. And so the rotation angle, what if we set it to 0? Actually, no. We have to set it to 0.25. Negative 0.25, it must be like that, because 0.25 is essentially just 90 degrees. So yeah, I think that looks pretty decent, doesn't it? The only thing that I might want to do is I might want to try to make it metallic and reduce the roughness a little bit. Maybe 0.6, 0.2. That's way too much. 0.4. I think that should be fine. Okay, so our car is basically done. And just save it, cross it out, make sure to save all, because I don't want you to lose your progress. And now we can just go ahead and work on the next part, which is going to be creating the studio.